You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button.
All right, we'll get injuries out of the way. Wingo and Jones are out. Hilton is in. So that's from an injury standpoint.
So no Mekhi Wingo and no Emory Jones. So not having Mekhi Wingo, arguably your best interior defensive lineman in this game, that stinks. But Brian Kelly also disclosed that Wingo's kind of been playing hurt all year. And so when if you have the opportunity, try to get him healthy. It's a good opportunity. That's one of the reasons why where this game falls on the schedule is a good thing. In years past, this final playing date before your open date is typically a conference game. The fact that you have a non-conference game here actually kind of plays to your favor a little bit. I hiccuped. To your favor a little bit because now you have this week to kind of rest guys. You have an open date next week. So in theory, you look at Mekhi Wingo and Emory Jones.
Like 21 days.
It's 21
off?
days.
Wow. Yeah.
It's 21 days from game against Auburn to game against Bama.
Yeah. No, that gives him plenty of time if he has been banged up to heal up. Who's number 35
Savion
on LSU's team?
Savion Jones.
I had some pretty good seats last week. I was like 15 rows up, 50-yard line. My bad. Dude, he is a monster.
He's a monster. Savion Jones.
Oh, my gosh.
And he wasn't that big last year, but in this defense, as the big end, as they call it, the spot that Ali Gay played last year, they wanted him bigger. So he bulked up to 280, 285. I mean, he probably put on 40, 50 pounds. I mean, it was one of those where, and I know if you've listened to the show for a long time, you've heard me say this, but every year when we go out for fall camp, the first practice, one of the first things that I do is I look for like who physically has transformed their body and what freshman looks the part. Because so often it's the first time you get a chance to look at these guys. And remember, from spring, if spring ends sometime in March, April, May, June, then July. So really you're talking about like 4 or 5 months that you haven't seen these guys when they've been in a strength and conditioning program. Yep. Brother, you can make over your body in 4 or 5 months.
With the amenities they have there from a nutrition standpoint, absolutely.
So this year went out and was like, Christ almighty, Savion.
Bro.
He added, and he's talked about it, he added like 40 pounds.
How tall is he?
I don't have it.
I mean, he's 6'6", probably. 6'5", 6'6". I'm not talking about him playing. I'm talking about walking on the sidelines next to football players that were big. I'm like, whoa, who is that guy?
He's a monster, yes, Savion Jones. When he signed with LSU, I'll look up his recruiting profile, but they have him listed at 6'6", 280. When he signed with LSU, I'm trying to look up his recruiting profile. As a recruit, he was 6'5", 240.
Bro.
As a recruit, he was 240.
Yes, dude.
So I mean, it's a guy that's put on 40 pounds.
He looks like the statue in the Under Armour thing. You know, like you've seen that guy when
There he is.
I mean, that's him. No, that does not do him justice.
No, that's an old picture.
Yeah, no.
But you can even tell. Just look how slender he is in this photo, as opposed to what he looks like now. Yeah. And then I guess the other thing worth mentioning, we talked about with Emory Jones. So Emory Jones not playing this week. This is a positive in 2 ways. Number one, you let Emory Jones get healthy, right? So he had this whole week. He'll have all of next week during the bye, and then you keep bringing him along during the Bama week to see if he's ready to play when you play in Tuscaloosa. 21 days, as you mentioned. The other side of it is, because Emory got hurt early in the game against Auburn, you kind of catch a break, because Lance Hurd got to play the whole game against Auburn. He's going to get to start and play this entire game. And he played on the road at Mississippi State earlier in the year. That's when they were still rotating those guys.
He played well that game.
So remember, that was also the game late where Will Campbell had gotten like 4 penalties or whatever it was. And so Brian pulled him.
Beat it.
They moved Emory Jones to left tackle, put Lance Hurd in at right. So this is going to be a great 2-week stretch for Hurd to get a ton of reps. So that way his feet will be a little more acclimated if he does have to play against Bama. And then you get Chris Hilton back, and I'm excited for Chris Hilton. I think I've talked about it a bunch. I think Chris Hilton had an awesome fall camp. Early in the season, he had earned more reps, was taking advantage of it. He had the injury against Ole Miss, which was disappointing. But hopefully this is a game where Chris Hilton gets to get out there, get a little run, and get going a little bit after the injury. All right, one more. Brian Kelly was asked about Jaden Daniels in his prep this offseason. So I'm not sure which one it is, but I want the one where he talked about like when they had to give him a key, right? Okay. Just listen, then we'll come back and talk about it because I think we've seen this parallel a couple times.
He is somebody that is so diligent at his progression and wanting to be good at progression read that his work in the offseason was unbelievable, how much time he spent here. I don't know if you know the story, but we changed our protocols and procedures in terms of letting players into the building. We used to cut them off at a certain time. We gave him unlimited access to the building because he was in here at 5 o'clock in the morning and he was here late at night. He just lived in this building and watching film and just learning the offense. And he knows it so well that when I'm sitting in those meetings, it's amazing the progression that he has made relative to understanding all the nuances of the offense. And that's on him. He did that.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, you can see it when he's playing. He's just so much more confident.
There's two examples, and you're going to know them exactly, but there's two examples in my time covering LSU when I've heard a coach say something similar to that about a quarterback. You want to guess?
Joe Burrow.
That's one.
And Jaden Daniels.
Aside from Jaden.
Zach Mettenberger.
It was Mettenberger. In 2013, Mettenberger was, and I think everybody knows this story now, but Mettenberger was taking that final semester, fall of 2013. I think he had one online class. And that was it. So, and Cam Cameron had just been hired, and I know it didn't end well with Cam Cameron, but remember, Cam was an NFL head coach and OC and knew a ton about football. And it was just a very specific skill set and style that evolved, and it just didn't match. It didn't continue to evolve. But Cam was a very good offensive mind, and you don't become an NFL head football coach without
knowing football.
Yeah.
Right.
But Zach would go up to football ops every day. And it was just he was wearing his slides, the sandal slides, and he'd have his Starbucks, and he would just go watch film all day. He was basically a professional football player. That's all. He had one online class. He used that whole semester like that, and then the same thing happened with Joe, his final year, that final semester as well. And it's just obvious when you're a fifth-year player like Zach was, like Joe was, like Jaden is, when you're a fifth-year player, it's your fifth season of college football, you've got a ton of experience playing, and now physically you're bigger and stronger, faster and better, and now you get that mental unlock as well, and everything starts to slow down. You start to see this type of result.
Yep.
So that it didn't surprise me at all when I heard Kelly say that Jaden's done this as well.
And you say it's not just like sitting at a TV screen watching film. So they have this like room. It's like a mini movie theater with the big giant screen that they're kind of close to. I mean, it's like you're like close, like with enough space where they can move around. It's the coolest setup from a film standpoint. It makes a whole lot of sense if they can spend time like in that room. You can like see the game. You can play the game.
Yeah. It's there's a reason he's doing what he's doing. And I was kind of looking at Army because selfishly, I obviously want to see Jaden Daniels stat compile this week.
Yeah,
he has to. I mean, if you got to win all your games in November, you got to win at Bama for him to be in this Heisman conversation. But he's got to stat compile. Like you have to do that. I mean, Joe Burrow when they played Georgia Southern, that opener. I mean, he threw for 5 touchdowns in that game. I mean, you've got to stat compile. So Army, the most points they've allowed all season is 29 to UTSA, and Army won that game 37-29. I think LSU's going to score more than 29, but how much of it is hand the ball to Logan Diggs, short of the game? How much of it is Jaden taking off running throw? We'll see. But he's got to get his. You know what I mean? So hopefully that happens as well on Saturday. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.